So this is a good question. Donna Payette says, "Does everyone have a higher self?" Of course.
Sure. So
Yes.
so you want to
Let's
speak?
start off with what a higher self is. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
So,
You
I
go
mean,
ahead.
the higher self is that part of each of us that is the divine. The higher self is a state of consciousness that we can always access through meditation or introspection. It's about self-awareness. It's our divine self.
Yeah, it's our divine. It's our connection to source. So the
Mhm.
thing I like to do is, I was drawing out, but people can imagine. I always say often that the analogy I like to use is this body is the big toe to the soul, which means that we are many, many levels of our beingness, but we humans are very much aware of this physical meat suit that we're in on this third dimensional world. But really, we're multidimensional. And right now, as we're sitting here watching this and being part of this, we're also alive in other levels of being. And if you can say the pinpoint of the higher part of our being is that higher self and that higher level of awareness, which hopefully in this physical vibration of learning about building blocks and doing physical things, we open ourselves up to receive the download, if you will, the raindrops, that sparkle that comes in, and open ourselves up to all of that awareness and knowledge, if we will, and that self mastery.
I
Really,
love that you said if we can open ourselves up. So if
open
there's,
ourselves
I
up.
mean, that is the way to access that. Absolutely. Because if you're
Lift off
stuck in fear or trauma, it's very difficult to be in that state of awareness, to know that the higher self is there. The higher self is that part of you that knows the right thing.
yeah. And it's very interesting because I'm looking now right now. I'm just thinking as I talk, I see things and just show me the chakra system of the body. So we have the red, the orange, the yellow,
Yeah.
different several different levels of chakras. Same thing with the body. So the different levels of that body. And I always say to people, like 75% of your soul is outside here. Only 25 is here. So you
Yeah.
are up here doing different things, and really what you want to do is really this is the big toe. It's like the
Mhm.
bottom, if you
I
will.
love that.
You want to bring the higher awareness down to the
Yes.
physical dimension.
Right.
And that's really important that you do it. And again, let yourself be open to doing that. So how do we do that? How do we access that higher self?
I think a lot how we access it. It starts well. First of all, before I even go there, there was a really good question that somebody asked,
Yeah.
and I wanted to. I thought we should talk about this. This is from Eloise Shea, and she said, "I have PTSD, so a lot of people have PTSD, and James, that could have happened to you the other day,
I
and
feel
it probably, And she said, and I have been triggered, and she said, how can I replace? A great question. How can I replace fear with love? Because I was so connecting so greatly when all of this happened, when her PTSD kicked in. And that is how life is. You could be just really connecting and calm, and then suddenly something comes up and you are triggered, which is a real human experience while we're here, right? So, how I want to answer that question is the first thing that you need to do is when you are triggered, look at it, what happened, look at the trigger, and then look at the experience of what happened to you with the trauma. So it might be time, the PTSD is probably telling you a message, which is it's time to maybe get some therapy, get some help with it. Um, and there's a great link called traumahealing.org, and they work with trauma that's stored in the body. Thank you, Renee. And sometimes unexpectedly something happens and you get triggered. And I believe it's your higher self saying, okay, now let's get some help now. It's okay. We're going to work through this.
and, just saying that I'm thinking of dog poop. Forgive me because I've been around puppies. I live in poop land for the past two weeks. So getting dog poop at the bottom of your shoe, and gotta scrape that off. So here's the big toe, the shoe.
Right.
It triggers that old memories. It triggers old experiences. And
Right.
what did we do with those old experiences? And
Right.
many people have that choice of living in the past or living or they get in the future. And really,
Yep.
it's really Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of now, which is really one from this point perspective right here.
Uh-huh.
You're not your past. You're not your future. You're different at this
Right.
moment. And when things happen in the past, which are fear related, trauma related, I often let people go there and really kind of either write it down in a journal or just visualize it.
Mhm.
What would happen if you take the trauma out of that experience? What
I
would that
love
experience
that.
feel like? What would it look like? What happens if you weren't abused or you weren't hurt or whatever it might have been? And
Mhm.
what's the opposite of that? And then give that energy. Be
Yeah.
positive. And that's how I work with a lot of people, and it helps them quite
Yeah.
a bit.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Um, let's see here. We've got some really good questions here. Okay. So, oh, Cynthia says, Cynthia Koenig says, that is a good thing to know about 75% of you being about your human form. How do you reach that level? So, James, how does one reach that
So
level?
that's what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
So tonight we're talking about the transcendence, right? Transcending,
Yeah.
moving, or transmute, if you will, to that higher level. And there's many different ways or methods of getting there, and everybody speaks about it differently. So if you go on the internet, they'll talk about meditation, I'll talk about yoga, all these different things. But it's really what they're talking about is bringing your awareness, your mind,
Yes.
to a higher level of existence. So there are different levels of
Yeah.
awareness, right, Kelly?
Yes.
You
Mhm.
know names all these. And really for me, and I'm gonna say it, I say it all the time, and I'm gonna say it again, that the soul is the mind is the soul. And the mind is limitless, the mind is very expansive, the mind is on very different levels. The brain dies at physical death. The brain is an organ of the physical body that dies, it ends. But the mind continues, and the mind has all the memories and life experiences in this lifetime and other lifetimes. And I'm not going to go to the future, but future times as well. But so it's really, if you will, living in your mind as far as bringing in that awareness of myself is what do you love? What do you love? What do you love about yourself? What do you love about somebody else? Trying to find that God, that light in somebody else, no matter who they are, even down to when I was a police guy in TJ, and I was looking for it. It was dark, but it was there. It was dark, but I try to find the best in everybody. I try to find the best in every situation. And Kelly, you taught me years ago that lovely saying, which is, they don't know anymore. They're limited, which
They're
is really
limited. Yeah.
limited. Some people are not
Yeah.
aware.
Well, oh,
They're in
yeah.
third grade. They're not in college. They're
They-
just not aware. You can't.
Absolutely. And when we come to this school, that's James and I talk about it all the time. You will be in school with a first grader and somebody getting their PhD.
Exactly.
And by the way, the person getting their PhD will still get triggered.
Exactly right. And how do you,
Right?
and you really are in control of how you respond. That's really what you're about.
And that's where growth is how you respond. That is how
It's not
growth
about
is.
judging the other
Yeah.
person, putting the other person down. No, it's about how do you respond? How do you take care of yourself, your own soul? And are you that shining example of others? So, the higher self, if you can think of the highest aspects of being, for instance, if you make
Yes.
a list of attributes that you think are higher self, virtues, if you will.
Mhm.
So we can make love, compassion,
Love, compassion, empathy, kindness,
friendliness, kindness,
friendliness,
peace. We can
peace.
take that. And to me, it's where you focus your mind. So if you put your mind to those levels of a highness, like peace, tranquility, beauty, and whether it's through nature, through people, through objects, whatever it is, bringing your mind up to a higher level of a being, if you will. To me, that's how you get to that higher self. And really, when you get to the higher self, for me, it just feels unconditional. And I once had an experience in Brazil where I did ayahuasca tea. And this is 15, 20 years ago. I talked about this once before. And that was the first time I ever was aware of my higher self in a form. And it was myself, my eyes, my mustache was always there. And it really was a gold turban. And this being looked just like you had a gold turban. And I knew that this was my higher self because it was just this pure wisdom, awareness, this knowledge. And this being, my higher self, gave me a purple amethyst ring in this vision I had and said, this is your initiation to a higher level. And so I might not have been able to be open to that if I wasn't ready for that.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later, found that physical ring in a
Right.
jewelry store. Ring. But it's where you put your mind and the rest will follow. I really do believe that.
So let me ask you this, and I love what you just said because I love what you just said. I've always seen myself as with a lot of hair on the
Always.
and a white robe and a turban. I've seen that so
Always.
many times.
Always.
Always with the hair, so I'll recognize myself. Um, God forbid I get there and I don't recognize myself.
God, you don't have no hair. Jeez.
What would happen? But I love the way you say that, and my thought when you were saying that is it's one of these. Oh God, I don't want to lose my thought on this. With oh my God, hold on, I don't want to lose my thought on this. It was important. It was important. It's about how is it that how is it that we're able to what's the difference between a spirit guide and our higher self? Get receiving information. That was the question.
Wow. So it's so, it's open to so many interpretations
Right.
because and so many subtleties because it isn't so, we have to remember that we're looking at a seventh dimension, sixth dimension, with three-dimensional laws and
Right.
lenses, as you talk about the lenses.
Yeah.
So how do we really, all we know is knowledge and awareness that we have beings who are specialized in their field, and that
Yeah.
download to us or download to our higher self or work in
Mhm.
conjunction with our higher self to bring that down to us. And I think that's more like it is. I think it's a staircase. It goes down, down, down. And I think they work with our higher self and we work with that higher self, the higher self we're downloading from our higher self. So how do we get to that higher self information? Opening ourselves up, sitting in the silence of our being, in the stillness of our being, really not paying attention to the judgment or fear the
Right.
best we can, and we remember who we are, our source. Our source is we are love. We are loving beings. That's who we are. That's the light. That's love. And many people talk about near-death experiences, and I see the light and this overwhelming love, unconditional love. We can have that now. We can have
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
That awareness is here. If we want to have it, that awareness is available.
And we're going to be pushed into that with situations that come up in the earth, in the world we're living in now. We're going to be pushed just like COVID. We were
Mhm.
forced to go within ourselves and understand our new value system or about people, communities. I mean, everything has changed. And really, we're going to be transcended, I think, to that space. And like you always say, Kelly, we picked this. We picked
We
this.
picked this. We chose to be here during this time of great growth for all of our souls. Everybody's going to grow a lot.
And another thing which is important that we realize is that we're all magnets. We are like magnetized beings. And you will attract into your energy fields, because I believe there are many fields around us, spaces around us, that we vibrate out. And I think that you have to remember that when you attract with your thoughts, the words that you use that follow thoughts, yeah, and how you behave physically, how you do things, what's your intention behind your thoughts. And that will, depending on the level, it goes into musical notes and colors, the vibrations of these things, sounds, words. What you go up to a higher level of being, but with your thoughts, your words, you will attract to you like.
Absolutely.
Attracts like.
Absolutely.
If your life is not working out,
It's
then
so funny, James. I can't believe you said that. Today, just a card fell out of some deck I had here. I swear to God, it just did.
And if your life is not working out per se, there's problems, then who's to answer? Go into yourself. So what is not in balance within me that is bringing that energy, that is bringing this diffusion, if you will? Because there's got to be something within my being which is not in balance and is not really is imbalance, and there's fear there. What is it going on? And you've got to go into that really deep part of your soul and ask yourself those questions. That's why you're here, and that's when you can start. So you have to. I've had to drop, as you know, some people that I thought my friends
Yeah.
or souls come to your life for a season, reason, lifetime. And then there's an expiration date sometimes. There's an expiration date. There just is. You learn, we have to learn from them, you move on, whether divorces or end of friendships or
Right.
moving. It happens. It's part of our life. And new people come in, new beings come in, people go out. It happens. It's transformative. And that's growth. Growth is movement. Life is movement. If you're not moving, you're not living.
Oh, so true. So this
Right?
is a great question. That's excellent. Kathy Jane asked this question. She said, why is it that sociopaths and narcissists exist? And one characteristic is an inability to be introspective and reflective. Do I have any thoughts on this? Oh, many.
Yes, she does.
Many. I think that they exist to teach us. So we learn boundaries. We learn about who we are. We're pushed into our higher self. That's why they exist.
I just had to deal with a narcissist 2 weeks ago, and it was really traumatic.
Oh, that's
Again.
right. You did. Ooh.
Yes, I did. And that person's situation and trauma, they were trying to push onto me. And I did not allow that. I said, get out of my space. And I had to. But that's, you have
I
to.
mean, you really had to speak up. You had to set your boundaries. You had to stop it. And that's when they come into our life. This is often, it's what are we learning about ourselves? How much can we take?
Yeah. And, you can only go so far with kindness. Kindness is there, but you don't let people, should not take advantage of your kindness. There's a fine line there. And part of the teaching is you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to treat me that way. That's not right. That's not the right way to do things, to treat people like it's say things. You don't do those things. Treat others as you want to be treated.
And also with sociopaths, maybe they're a little more challenging to discover. Usually, you have to look at the behavior instead of right on. Because at front, they might look like they're just normal, but you have to look at the behavior. But a narcissist, you can pretty much see a red flag coming along. And frankly, a sociopath is a narcissist, just a little further down the
I
line.
live around sociopaths. Where I live, I have a lot of sociopaths around here, and they charm you. They can
They're
charm.
very charming. That's the buzzword,
Really
charm.
charming. You
Yeah.
told me that yes.
Yeah.
A lot of people in your life they can be charming, but there's something Kelly once said beneath the skin. You got to look at what's beneath the skin.
You have to look.
True.
You have to look. You know, when I was in grad school, they taught us, if you start getting a stomach ache around somebody.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? So
Yeah,
that's the
stomach
energy.
ache.
Well,
Yeah, it's the energy. Yeah.
energy.
No,
Not that about
no.
yeah.
So
So,
that's
and for me, also get back to the higher self, tuning into it. For me, it is not only those lovely words and seeing nature, but being in nature. Like I do gardens, I create beautiful gardens and landscaping, and I feed them and water them, and that gives me joy. And I think joy is a great way of getting to the higher self, bringing that higher aspects in. So, if you will, the doorway, the portal for higher self is joy, happiness, peace, serenity, and really, for me, I know that I say this all the time, and I never forget it each day. That at the end of my life, physical life here, I want to look back and be very proud of the life that I lived. I want to be very proud of how I left this earth. And I think if everybody had that way about them, and realized that what they said will come about, and that this isn't just like vapor. Your thoughts are things. They'll attach to people. Your words attach to people. They're real.
they're
So you
very
want
real.
to the
Yes.
higher levels. You don't want to
Right.
have to go through that again.
Well, I have to tell you, James, yesterday we had some friends visit us and we went down to a river. We live on a river, actually. I don't even know if I ever told you that. We live on a river.
What river
And
do you
we live
Kelly?
on a river. I'll tell you later. It's
Yeah.
if I can remember the name of
Kelly.
it.
There you go. Yeah, sure.
Every day you learn something new.
Yeah.
But we went down to the river and it was all green and the trees, and I felt like you. I was so mesmerized. James, I stayed there for at least an hour just in heaven. It was heaven to me. And I got what you always have told me about, but I actually had the experience that being out in nature is so healing. You want to talk about your higher self. I almost left my body in that sense. I was feeling so good about everything.
So
It's amazing.
and the thing which is really important, Kelly, and that's very true, because then you get into that point of being aware of the nature and the beautiful green trees, and then you go into the prana, the energy of life that flows.
That's what
through
it was. That's what it
and it
was.
flows through you and flows through everything, and it's the same
Yes.
energy, that same
Yeah.
prana, that flow of life through everything, and that's the rejoicing part. It's everything. And
Yes.
something I got to make clear for a lot of people here, because I know a couple people asked this earlier. Many people think that to reach your higher self, you got to be out of the body. You got to put your mind to it somewhere else. You're going to meditate and be out of it, and you're gone. Not at all true.
Mm-mm.
You can't be so spiritually aware that you know earthly good, as our good friend David Hill has said.
That's so true.
It's really, really true. So you got to be properly grounded. You've got to be in the body, and you got to be. It's almost like an elevator. Like we're sitting in the lobby here, or the elevator.
Okay.
But we are the lobby, right? And the elevator goes up higher and higher and higher. But we're still aware that we're the lobby. We're holding that elevator. And
Right.
the higher we go up with that elevator, the higher where's the level of consciousness or awareness, if you will. But we have to be able to have that foundation and grounding ourselves. And it's called an awareness. Because if you space out, your awareness is leaving the physical body. It's not going to do it any good. You're not going to be able to receive it, remember it, be aware of it, be taught by it in the physical.
Right.
Because you won't remember. So
Right.
you want to be physically aware of. Now there are different trance levels of altered states of consciousness, of course, but even the deepest trance levels, there's always a certain awareness. You're never completely unconscious. You're conscious when you're in deep levels of trance. You are conscious. Same thing with this. When you're in those levels,
Mhm.
you will be very aware of the physical, and the best way is to be aware of the physical and go those high levels. Use an elevator. Use an analogy that can work for you. Sometimes
Right.
someone said mountain climbing. I'm climbing up the mountain, top of a mountain. I'm going to the top of a tree. I'm going up a staircase, an escalator. So it's important to fully ground yourself and have foundation
Right.
as you assess the higher self.
Oh, you're right. It's so right. Oh, James. Jenny Wren says, what are your thoughts on Alzheimer's? Do you think maybe the person still has some memory of the now inside of them somewhere? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I do. I think that the memories continue, and when they leave the body, they remember everything. I think the body limits them, but my thoughts on Alzheimer is it's important. Why did the soul choose that? Maybe to help other people, maybe to help with compassion, so
Yeah.
people would have a lot of compassion.
Yeah, one of the same. One of the same. Again, here we go talking about something might be exist in a different dimension, seventh, eighth
Right.
dimension, but it's a physical, three-dimensional situation. And I've heard that souls will come in and go out of the body, just like they do before they're born. The soul awareness goes in and out. And
Yeah.
and I agree with you. It's also for helping other people, learning about letting others take care of you. There's all different reasons why, but they've come back. I've had spirit come back and talk about not remembering certain things physically, but they're very aware of it. But it's different forms. It's a strange thing. Even Alzheimer's, dementia, same thing. That the soul, it's always around. It's just that it makes physical contact with us, but it's there.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So never die. Soul would never
No.
cease to exist.
Oh my gosh. Donna Payette, she says, does my higher self guide me? And can I speak to my higher self? Oh, I speak constantly. Constantly to my higher self.
Downloading with the higher self.
Yeah.
And it's always, I always get the virtues. I always get the highest. And now when I see people, I see their highest virtues. And the hardest part of my job when I work is not talking to dead people that I can do. It's seeing these people's abilities and their gifts, and they don't see it for themselves. And it's me trying to help them just open that door and see their higher aspects of their being and their capabilities, their gifts. And they really want to do that while you're here in the physical world. You really want to open that up to those higher levels of being, because it'll change the planet. It'll be waves of change for everyone.
And it's something that people can do daily, right? I mean, literally, you can view the person you're with as the highest self, as their higher self, and you're your higher self. What would that look like? It would look like what we talked about: love, compassion, empathy, understanding, awareness of the soul, and maybe what the soul is going through and what you've gone through. That's it.
And every one of us is, if you will, touched by the sun. The same sun touches every single person. It doesn't judge. It's a ray of sun, and every single person has that same ray of sun, right? The same level of sunlight. It doesn't differentiate. It's the same for everyone. So we're all connected, if you will. And when you meet someone, you see the higher aspects, the God self in that person, whatever you want to call that.
Yes.
And so I just try to see them what color robes do they have on, or what are the features, what kind of virtues do they have. I think it's a great way. Even if you want to just pick up, for instance, a book. So here's a book. Let's say this is I just picked up in Mexico, the Pocket Guru, right? It's a funny book, and it's just different with power. Healing is possible. Healing puts a call out to the divine. Healing takes time, but we will remain timeless. I mean, if you put your reading, what I'm saying is putting your mind to those higher levels by reading a certain spiritual book, by looking at some beautiful paintings or some drawing, and being creative yourself.
This book right here.
I like the best.
This will put you that fast. Any page. Boom. Sure. James, give me a page.
49.
Okay. I'm not making this up, but I turned just to 49. I just turned right to 49. Okay. Wow. Our guys work so well together. Our higher selves work very well together. So it says, seek first the kingdom. You have to learn to seek first the kingdom of heaven, the place of stillness and quiet at the highest level of which you are capable. And then the heavenly influences can pour into you, recreate you, and use you for the salvation of all humankind. There you go.
There
never fails. There you go.
There you have it. I mean,
oh my gosh,
I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
Pretty weird, Kelly. Really weird stuff to do. It's just weird.
No, wait. The other day, I have to tell you what happened the other day with James. I mean, as a side note, I have to say this. The other day was when I was doing my Atlantis and Lemuria. We did a guided meditation, and in the guided on Saturday, and I guess it was a week ago Saturday, or
and this is when I was trapped in Tijuana.
You were trapped in Tijuana, and then after that, we were writing in a journal. Part of the program was you write in a journal, and so I had some thoughts that I wrote the weirdest thing. I wrote gnome, the word gnome. I don't know where it came from, and then I did this doodle. I don't know what was happening. In about 5 minutes, I finished. In 5 minutes, James sends me a text, and it's a picture of a gnome. So I said, what? Did you send me a picture of a gnome? I said, you're not going to believe it. So I took a picture of what I had just written, and it turns out that it was the word gnome, and it was the doodle that you had doodled.
I was doodling, like a logo thing, and I've done it for years. And it's a beautiful infinity with starlight, and that was exactly what Kelly had. And I texted Kelly a picture of I need a break, and it was a funny picture of one of my gnomes in my garden, and it had fallen down. And the weird thing is, this gnome looks like me. It's weird. My friend Lynn Probert gave me it, and it's on its side next to the, on the ground, like that. This is me right now. I need to, after the puppies and everything else, I need a little break, so I'm on my way to Mexico.
Right.
And then Clay said,
I just couldn't. I mean, so this is how we all connect, and everybody has this ability to connect, you know,
and
like
it's a higher
this.
level of awareness. We're talking about coincidence, synchronistic experiences.
Right.
Your higher selves are getting together, making this happen. That's exactly what happens. It's great affinity together. I also want to share with everybody a beautiful written work that I learned about back in the 80s, I guess it was, or maybe 70s, late 70s, early 80s. You know, I'm a former hippie, kind of. not generation totally, but there.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine had passed over, and I went to his house to it was, you know, left me something, but nothing, left me nothing. I said, but I was told to have anything you want here. And I grabbed this off the wall, and a lot of people might have heard of this, but it was a saying, and it's called Desiderata. And I live by this every day. I have it hanging in my room, my office, and I read it every day because I have to pass them a door. And so I want to share with everybody about the higher self. And this is, I just literally framed it here. Okay. You might close your eyes if you want. That's fine. Desiderata. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others. Even the dull and ignorant, they too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. There are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter. For always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career. However humble, it is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not bind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself. Especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of years, gracefully surrounding the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it's clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations and the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its shame, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be careful. Strive to be happy. And that's Desiderata, and that was found in Old St. Paul's Church in Baltimore, dated 1692. Desiderata.
1692.
1692. Yeah.
Wow, such wisdom there. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thanks everybody. Really,
Join
really
me Thursday night for Ask Me Anything, and we'll see you next Monday night.
And see you in mediumship. Thanks, Renee. Bye.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kellee Show.